guys, it's In the Garden with Garrett, and a few months ago we planted these blackberries and raspberries just from these rootstock. And I know I told you guys we weren't going to be putting trellises up till next year, but things have just been growing like crazy. And so we've got vines growing everywhere, we got fresh berries coming on, so it's kind of a perfect time to get these trellises up, and I want to show you how to do just that. So we've dug about 2 foot deep holes. These posts are 8 feet tall. I like these sticking out of the ground about 6 feet. You can go a little bit shorter than that, but when we put our wire on here to make our trellis, they'll put the wire at about 5.5 feet off the ground. So what we're doing is we're putting in these 5-inch round pressure treated posts, and I picked them up at Wilco today. I've got T-posts to put in the middle. But what we're doing with this postal digger is we're digging these holes at a slight angle. So when we put these posts in here and we tighten them up with the string, they're not going to pull in on us. If they do pull in a little bit, it'll pull them straight. It's just the best way to do it. Nobody wants to see posts that are sucked in at an angle. It's just better to have them at an angle to start with, so if they do budge on you, they'll be nice and straight. And with any of these cane berries, you can roll the tops of the canes over when they get long enough, or you can come up straight and cut them off. I like to roll them over because then you have the ability to get the most amount of crop and yield off of those vines. Now I've seen people use round steel posts or old steel pipe. I like using these pressure treated wood posts just because they're a classic look. Now you want to make sure that you put the large end up and the tapered end down in the hole. They do come slightly tapered, typically about 1/2 inch to 1 inch difference between the top and the bottom. So we're not ready to put wire up yet, but I got this baling twine. What that's going to do is it's going to help us get our T-posts in straight, so when we set them in the ground, they're not going to be real wobbly or crooked up and down the row. Last thing we have to do before we string the wire up is get these steel T-posts in the ground. We're only going to go in a couple feet, but we got to make sure they're nice and straight. I like to use these white painted tips as a marker. So when we get these posts in the ground enough to where the wire is going to be right about the white, between the white and the green. So now that we have all the posts in, all we have left to do is to hang the wire and get everything tied down and strapped tight. We're going to use these barbed staples to keep them tight to the post so they don't slide down the posts. We've got these T-post clamps, and these are going to hold the wire to the top of the T-post. So when you have all the weight of that fruit on the vines, it's not going to sag the wire and pull it down onto the ground. You're also going to use these ratchet tighteners, and these little ratchet tighteners are really cool because once you get your wire up there, you just ratchet these guys up and your wire will be nice and tight. You won't have any sag or anything like that. I like to use a 14 gauge or a 12 gauge wire. 12 gauge is a little bit thicker than a 14 gauge, so it's going to be a lot stronger. It gives you a little bit more mass to tie your vines and your branches onto. So once you have the excess pulled through there, before you hand tighten it, you want to clip that off so that way it doesn't take up a lot of space on the ratchet. You're going to want to use a crescent wrench or anything that you can grab a hold of this guy with. And as you ratchet it up, it'll tighten really nicely. It'll suck all the slack right out of the line. So once you get this line nice and tight, you'll be able to tell if all your T-posts are in at the same depth or not. I like my posts nice and straight, and I also like them nice and level. If your posts are going up and down, it looks kind of funny, and you really don't want it to look like an amateur did it. Now the last and final step is to put one more run of wire up, and I like to call that the training wire. I put it about 2 to 2.5 feet off the ground, and that's to train the young, short plants when they come up out of the ground so they're not flopped over. Once that wire's on, you'll be ready for full production raspberries and blackberries. Well, Vivian and I sure hope that you guys have been enjoying these videos. If you need help with your own cane berries or your vineyards and getting trellises in the ground, give us a shout or check us out at growoutdoorliving.com.